All right, good evening. Welcome to the October 8th, 2019 meeting of the Manchester Town Council. We'll begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge of Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. First order of business, as we always do, a couple of housekeeping issues and minutes. So we'll begin with the approval of September 10th, 2019 minutes from last month. We have a copy of those. Are there any additions or corrections to the minutes?
I'll make a motion we approve the September 10th, 2019 minutes.
I'll second that motion.
Motion second without any other discussion. Is there any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, we have receipt of the September 2018 check register. We'll have the treasurer's report to follow. Do we have a motion to receive the check register?
I'll make a motion that we receive the September 2019 check register.
I'll second the motion.
Motion second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Mayor's report. We have a couple of announcements here. Some of them are repeat and ongoing. We'll continue to do our best to get out the word on some of these items. Probably makes sense to get them out on Facebook as well, again. But brush pickup. So this is, again, the larger brush pickup. Tuesday, October 15th. As a reminder, shrubbery cuttings, tree trimmings cannot exceed 4 inches in diameter. Shrubbery cuttings and tree trimmings should not exceed 8 feet in length. Have those in piles, not to exceed 4 feet in height, 4 feet in width, and 8 feet in length. And please put the cut end towards the street. Again, it helps the guys do it more efficiently. So they're able to get to everybody's shrubs and move on with the rest of their duties. We do have another bulk trash pickup coming up. That's Wednesday, October 16th. If you have an item for bulk trash pickup, please call Hughes. The number is available. You can either Google Hughes or we can give it to you here in the town office. They may have special instructions, like if it's a refrigerator or something like that. Again, to make that process go smoothly and make sure you get your item picked up. As you're well aware now, it's been, I guess, a dry summer and fall, late summer, early fall. Leaves are starting to come down, so we're going to start leaf pickup here on Monday, October 28th, and continue. It's planned to continue until December 2nd. Leaves will probably come down early this year because it's been dry. So again, get those down in piles down to the end of the road. We're going to begin that at the end of the month. Water bills are due on October 30th. Remember, not October 31st, not the last day of the month. So those are set up. All those will run on the 30th of the months in which they are due. And then Halloween are coming around again already. There's always some confusion. I know we get calls here in the town. I see things on Facebook. We do it in town here on the 31st. So on the 31st, we'll have the police out in full force. We'll have somebody monitoring each of the neighborhoods, trying to keep the kids as safe as possible. But again, common sense should always prevail in terms of keeping track of the little ones. If you choose not to participate, please turn your front light off, and that way you won't get people ringing your door, hopefully. And then finally, and we'll talk a little bit about this at the end. You guys may have seen when you came in, Mr. Steve Miller, as of tomorrow, so he hasn't quite earned it yet.
Yeah, that's pretty embarrassing. I keep looking up there. It's like, yeah. And I
days?
actually
14?
didn't know when the date was, but it doesn't matter. I'll be here at work tomorrow.
So he's only one day short of 40
That's
years working here at the town, and the town would not be the same without him. If you'd like to, for those of you that are here, like to stay after for a few minutes, we're going to hang out in the back and talk with Steve and embarrass him as much as possible.
Yeah, thanks. I really appreciate that.
That is all I have. With that, I'll turn it over to Mr. Steve Miller, Town Administrator.
Okay, good evening, Mayor and Council, members of the community. We'll review the September 2019 administrative report. Under pending items, of course, the Sheets project is complete. That opened up and everything seems to be going very well. The packaged goods store, that's still about 85% complete. County Permits Office did notify the town that the owner contractor and their office are working through some ADA issues on the site on that project. The opioid litigation, the letter of agreement was executed and that process is moving forward. The Lippy property annexation. If you recall, we have a workshop set up for next Tuesday evening, October the 15th at 7:30 here at Town Hall. I'll be sending a reminder out to everybody. Mindy Drive speed concerns. As the council directed us, we did get costs back on striping. There were some small test stripes applied on Mindy Drive. The county was contacted, and traffic counters were installed on September 30th, and we are currently in the process of installing solar-powered speed awareness signs in that location and other locations throughout the town. Under code enforcement, you have in front of you the monthly update. One thing that I do want to talk about when we get to the budget session is discussion on code enforcement and our fines and so on and so forth. So once we get past the holidays and start our budget session, that's one of the items that I really want to discuss with the mayor and council. The Rohrball property, those issues were in process of scheduling a property progress meeting with the Rohrballs and their attorney. The Dausch property, the owner has been served with notification violation information. Under miscellaneous items, the Whispering Valley Stormwater Management Facility retro project, we did come up against some right-of-way and easement issues. We have a meeting, I believe, on Thursday with the county, our attorney, and also the design firm to work out those issues. Also, Councilperson Howe did attend the MDOT tour meeting. We're also acquiring prices on trimming our Main Street trees, and we had to do some work on Field C of the ball fields back there. We're making some repairs back there. Of course, this Saturday, October 12th, from noon until 6, we have the ladies here. They're going to be talking about the Harvest Happenings event. And my last item is we have a Halloween Havoc event at the skate park scheduled for Sunday, October 27th from noon until moon, which it may not be moon, but so that's it. Any questions for me?
Steve, I'm glad you brought up discussing the code violation issues at the next budget meeting. I think in town administration, especially in here, we are understaffed as it is. It's hard to get done what needs to be done. This list is just amazing.
Correct.
And I think we need to consider strongly hiring a person dedicated to this.
Yes, I agree with that. I also, we just finished up a case which the town expended a lot of money, and we didn't get that much money back in return. So those are the things I'm looking at.
Okay.
Is our return on our investment, and it's not there. So,
Yeah, whether it's part-time or full-time, I think somebody needs to be dedicated to it. This is me personally.
One of the things, Stephen, your report reminded me, Councilwoman Howe is also planning to attend the fall MML conference. So one of the focuses there from the last MML dinner that I attended, so there's going to be an update and a workshop and hopefully some good information on small cells and where that stands. There's a case in the Ninth Circuit that's supposedly is going to give some more guidance around the balance of power between the companies trying to put these things out and the municipalities trying to direct where and how and what they look like.
sure. Currently we have one. If you'd like to take a look at it, it is at the end of Monroe Street off of Beaver Street. I think it does blend itself well to the surroundings. It doesn't really stick out. Also, I pass that information on to the town of Hampstead to take a look at that. You've probably seen the ones in Westminster, and they're not too nice to look at. They're not very attractive. But the one on Monroe Street, I have to say, it's not that bad.
Yeah.
So.
So that everybody out there knows, you may or may not have heard of this. So traditionally we've all had the big cell towers, and then they try to hide and make them look like trees, and we have some that sit on top of the water towers and things. As we move towards 5G, there's these small cells, so smaller towers. Some of them are very unattractive. So municipalities have been at odds with the companies putting these things out. Is that you can just get like a street that you've spent a lot of time trying to beautify and help the businesses, and all of a sudden you kind of have these very industrial-looking small cell towers every 50 feet or something. Maybe not quite that much, but so we're monitoring that and trying to stay as ahead of the curve as we can. But it is tied up in court right now, nationally, but it's going to become an issue, for all local governments. So more to come on that, and we'll see what comes back from MML. I know that there'll be some legislation in the General Assembly on that this year. All right. Police report. Chief Hess is under the weather tonight. I do have his police report. I'll give the highlights as best I can, but I won't be able to answer a ton of questions. In September 2019, responded to 139 calls for service, 33 dispatch calls for areas outside of town, so outside of the corporate limits. Investigated one crime involving tools reportedly taken from a work van on Augusta. We charged 10 people during the month of September, and the breakdown is 3 for recidivist driving with a suspended license, 3 DWIs, 1 negligent driving, 1 driving without a license, 1 driving an uninsured motor vehicle, 1 warrant arrest for motor vehicle theft. On the overdose front, the Sheriff's Office is reporting 322 overdoses year to date, 150 of which are heroin or fentanyl related. There have been 36 fatalities. Municipalities year to date are as follows: Hampstead is 10, Manchester 5, both with none fatal. Hampstead 3, 1 fatal. Tawnytown 27, 1 fatal. Westminster 101, 15 fatal. Mount Airy 14 with 3 fatal. On the traffic enforcement front, which we've been spending a lot of time on lately, multiple town streets and roadways have been a focus. We're receiving numerous traffic complaints from all over town. We're addressing as many as we can in between the calls for service. Traffic enforcement numbers are up, and in fact, we've been handing out more citations and warnings than really ever before in town. Most of those, the vast majority of those are for speeding and some repair orders. Please continue to send in if you have complaints and concerns. It helps us to guide our priorities the best we can. The totals for the month of September: 113 state citations, repair orders, 207 warnings, most of which were speed, stop signs, and other violations. So 320 total violations in the month of September, just with our police force. Any questions on the police report? Okay, turn it over to Mr. Rodney Kuhn, the Director of Public Works.
Thank you. I'm trying to think of what I was doing 40 years ago.
You were still in diapers.
I'll take that. All right, good evening, Mayor and Town Council. I'd like to bring your attention to the monthly water and wastewater data report for September. And looking at this, I do want to point out one thing. Our numbers are down from for average gallons of wastewater treated per day due to the drier weather we've been having. If you recall, when we had the constant rain, ongoing rain, we were up 400,425. So those numbers are really good. We are permitted for 500,000 gallons a day, so these numbers are good. So if you have any other questions on that, let me know. Maybe at the end of my report. For the DPW report, for water, we had 0 water leaks on the private side in September. 1 water leak on the public side located and repaired by Manchester staff, and that was at Frydinger Mill Road and Millie Way, and that was repaired on the 19th of September. The Park Avenue tank rehab, MDE requires a construction permit to do this. Our proposals are in for this, and this is for specifications and construction permit assistance, and that will be an action item coming up shortly. Wastewater, 0 sewer backups on the private or the public side for September. The wastewater treatment plant ENR upgrade, optional expansion, request for proposals, preliminary engineering report. We had 4 engineering firms respond to our submittals. We're going to pick 1 firm out of the 4. Our committee is currently finalizing our decision. We actually met today. We need to go over some logistics with that, but I think we have one in mind. Maintenance, road, stormwater management. Our generator preventive maintenance program has begun, and this is going to happen once a year. It began in September, and we have a total of 15 generators, standby emergency generators. And this is done by our staff. Our FY '20 street rehab projects, this, if you've noticed, it's been going on all through September, and completion is expected at the end of this week. Our maintenance shop paving project has been completed by Bollinger Brooks and Paving Company. Parks and facilities, our Whispering Valley sign rehab, this is a work in progress, began in September, and we expect this to be completed in mid-November. Historical Center air conditioning, we are still gathering prices on this, and that's for an AC upgrade. And lastly, the one action item is for the Park Avenue tank rehab specification and MDE construction permit assistance. We received 2 proposals, and I'm requesting approval to award to Century Engineering in the amount of $9,000.
Okay, before we get to the action item, were there any questions for the Director of Public Works on his report?
As Mr. Coons talked about, just pay close attention to the September water and wastewater report. As he mentioned, right now, of course, we're in a drought spell, and when we start getting rain back, you'll see the groundwater raise again, and then that I will get back in the pipes. But just keep that in the back of your mind. As he mentioned, we get close to 450,000, 460,000 gallons a day, and real wet weather when it rains real hard, so just keep that in the back of your mind for future reference.
Any other questions for Director of Public Works? All right, so Rodney Coons brought up an action item. Received 2 bids for specifications and MDE construction permit assistance. One from Century Engineering for $9,000, one from G&B Engineering for $20,420. Do a motion to move ahead with. Are there any questions on that bid? Any questions for?
I'll make a motion. We move forward with the staff recommendation for Century Engineering in the amount of $9,000 in regards to the Park Avenue tank rehabilitation.
I'll second it.
Motion is second. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, anything else? All right,
Thank you.
thank you. All right, we're gonna bring up our Manchester Happenings group.
Good evening, everyone. This Saturday, October 12th, we will be having our Harvest Happenings, and that is our first fall event that we will be having. There will be parking at the Manchester Elementary School. We will not be parking on the carnival grounds. And then there will be a tractor ride up to the carnival grounds where the event will be held. We are going to be having food. The Manchester Volunteer Fire Department will have pit beef and ham and turkey and funnel cakes. We'll also have Kona ice and some kettle corn. We're going to have lots of fun activities like obstacle courses and scarecrow making, pumpkin decorating, some fall crafts. There will also be a hot chocolate and hot cider bar and a baked potato bar also. There'll be face painting, some petting zoos, and pony rides. There'll also be some entertainment. We will kick off the event by singing the national anthem at 12 o'clock. A local singer, Brooke Mascot, will be doing that for us. We'll also have a ballet performance, a cheerleader performance, and also a band called Eben Nova at 5 o'clock. We will be on site throughout the event to lend a helping hand to all of our vendors that are participating with us. And if anyone has any questions the day of, we'll be there also, and we'll have a table set up near the stage. So, any questions?
Not a question, but I'll say that the number of participants was quite impressive. So
Yes.
kudos
Yeah.
to all, for all the hard work that went into that. very impressed by all the people.
We have maps, for the event that are on the back table, and then we have extras that we can pass out today and that we will have at the event for anybody who is interested today. And you can get one at the event that lets you know what time everything is happening throughout the day and what you can do while you're there.
So I see your t-shirts. If you don't follow Manchester Happenings, if you're on Facebook and you don't follow it, please follow Manchester Happenings. There's good information on there. And one thing for you guys, at the last MML dinner, Neil Roop, who's the new president, so MML is kind of like at least in the Carroll County chapter, the elected officials once a quarter will get together for dinner and discuss, what's going on, best practices, that sort of thing. So one of the initiatives over the next year is to cross-pollinate our events and kind of like say, well, obviously Westminster's in the middle and everybody knows if they have Fall Fest or something like that. But there may be events in Manchester, there may be events in Union Bridge or in Mount Airy that would be of interest to each other's citizens. So we're trying to find ways to better advertise each other's events in the other towns. So we can talk about that offline, but certainly the Facebook, and I did put that out there, so that'll be in the MML newsletter in terms of getting that information out a little bit wider than Manchester. But I know everything that you guys touch turns to gold in this town, so thank you for continuing to
Lighting.
It's been fun.
to put on these great events.
You're welcome.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, next up, Mr. Ken Donathan. Discuss the proposed change to the zoning chapter regarding community solar projects.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, council members. Congratulations, Steve, on 40 years.
Thank you.
40 more to you.
Not gonna happen here. We'll give it a try.
My name's Ken Donathan. I'm with Earth and Air Technologies, a developer for solar installations. We're located out of Westminster, Maryland. We're a local company, Carroll County resident. And just a little bit of background. In the past, we've tried to do some larger solar projects, and there just wasn't an avenue to do some of the projects in the regulations. And one of the things that we're looking for the town to consider is an amendment for conditional use in the R40 district for community solar, which are typically a larger project, which allows a bunch of different benefits to individuals in the town and the towns itself and the state as a whole. So what a community solar energy generator is anybody can install a solar system and sell electricity to anyone in that particular utilities, in this particular case, BGE. So with the community solar energy generator, this was a program that was put together by the state in 2015, House Bill 1017, which gave individuals and businesses and entrepreneurs the opportunity to build these systems and sell electricity to anybody that wanted it. And one of the main reasons, or several of the main reasons for that, were there are individuals that just don't have the roof space, or it's not facing, or they have a big tree that's blocking the sun in order to get the solar insulation that's needed to generate electricity. Or these systems aren't cheap, so a lot of people can't afford them. So one of the main reasons for this House bill and this program was to allow individuals, anybody in the town that wanted to buy electricity from these community solar generators had that opportunity to do it. So that's a little bit of background of the House Bill 1087. Now, recently, in actually October 1st, 2019, the state passed the Clean Energy Jobs Act, which basically states that by 2030, all electricity in the state has to be from renewable energy. 50% has to be from renewable energy. 14.5% has to be from solar. So I think this is in the concept plan of the town, of the county, of the state to sustainability, to move in that direction. And this is kind of the opportunity for the town to have some ordinance where we can go to, or anybody, individuals can go to and allow a community solar generator system to be built. And again, we're looking for, we're recommending conditional use in the R40 district. So some of the recommendations for this amendment, and again, the recommendations that we put together as this text amendment is there's limited size of parcels. So the community solar in the section 250 amendment would be no less than 10 acres and no more than 20 acres. So there's some limitations that we would recommend. So it's, you know, it's going to be a pretty good sized lot, and the R40 just makes sense based on the mapping, the zone mapping. So not more than one of these community solar generators can be installed on a single lot. And there's height restrictions, distances from property lines, 16-foot height distance, 50-foot setbacks. And of course, all this is has to get zoning approval. But we're looking for an avenue that we can go to have the option to do a community solar energy generating system. I believe it really would benefit individuals in the town, and where we are in the state and in this county, pretty much everybody that wanted to put solar on their house or go solar is probably tapped out. There may be a few out there. This gives that additional opportunity for individuals that were on the fence and just didn't have that $25,000 or $50,000 to put one of these systems in. They can actually buy into the system to buy the solar that these generators are going to be producing. So that's a real benefit for the town. I think it's a nice a feather in the sustainability cap of the town as well. All this has to be approved, by the way. These community solar energy generators, the vetting process is pretty strict and pretty extensive. You have to go through the Public Service Commission in order to build one of these. So just anybody can't build it. You have to go through the Public Service Commission, just like utilities have to go through the Public Service Commission to get permission to build it. So the onus really would be on the Public Service Commission to allow these systems to, you know, first of all, be accepted into this program, because there's a limited capacity of these community solar. So it's not unlimited. So there's a limited capacity that this program allows, and so we're trying to get this type of legislation in the town amendments in order to be able to bring the town into this program. I'm open for any questions that you have. We have to have, individuals have to have security bonds. It has to be decommissioned. It has to be bonded. So again, the Public Service Commission is regulating all this. So it's not like the town has to take on a large, you know, the Public Service Commission is the one we have to answer to when it comes to the criteria for building it, decommissioning, bonding. And that's
one item that when Michelle Wilder and I met with Ken and the property owner was Ken understands that this amendment change has to go before the Planning and Zoning Commission for approval through them, and then back to you folks with their recommendations. I think he's actually looking, you know, for the mayor and council's input on the project to move forward to the next step. I had to educate myself on community solar. I did. I still can't grasp the idea. I do understand the idea, but some of the things how can I say this? Would town residents have precedent over other residents? Or basically, how can I say, is it basically open?
Yeah, it's open. It's a
So it's
first
not-
come, first serve,
So
but
it's not restricted, like this solar field will produce X number of kilowatts.
yeah,
But after that, the door's closed.
I'll tell you what, get a list together, we'll sign everybody up, we'll put them at the top of the list.
Yeah, I didn't know how
So
that,
it is open, it's open
Right.
to all BGE and residents, so it's not restricted. Or it is restricted to the BGE territory, but, again, there's community solar projects out there that are looking for subscribers, and that's what they would be, subscribers to the energy that's being produced, and it's green energy. The other benefit, I guess one of the main benefits I didn't even mention, is that the electricity that's being produced from this is probably cheaper than your BGE rate that you're getting. So it's like a win-win all around.
so basically the benefit would be, instead of, let's say, my wife and I putting panels on our roof, we would buy into your program. So when it come time to replace our roof, we wouldn't have to go through
Absolutely.
removing it. We wouldn't have all the equipment on the house, things like that. We could buy into that.
Absolutely,
into
no
that
maintenance,
program. Gotcha.
yeah.
I have a question. To help the audience visualize what we're talking about, I think we first need a definition of our 40,000 district. What is that?
You have that in front of you.
I
That
know,
was
I need
passed
the audience to know.
out. Right. Michelle, can you take the mic, please?
It's a residential district zoning of the R 40,000, which means 1 acre, minimum of 1 acre lots. And it is, single-family homes mostly. We don't really have any R 40,
Very little.
homes, yeah, most of it's R 20,
So-
which is half acre. So this happens to abut, where they're talking about, happens to abut at the end of Grafton Street, which is all R 7,500 lots, which are very tiny. Most of those people can't even put up the windmill, the ones that attach to the houses, those kinds of things. So they don't have the ability to do any of that. And then it's out along agricultural grounds on the other side.
So one of my questions with this, and I'm glad you're here, Michelle, was like, if it's R 40,000 or R 40, which is 1 acre lots, are some of our neighborhoods that are smaller but they're clustered, do they start as R 40 and then they were clustered down, then we have open space? So would something like this apply in one of those neighborhoods?
We don't have anything R 40 right now at all, and we just amended R 40 zoning when we did the comp plan, that you have to cluster in the R 40, which creates smaller lots than the R 40. But if you're talking
Less
about,
utilities and all that stuff.
right, so if you wanted to, this is one of the thoughts that I would suggest planning and zoning, if they're contemplating this, they would put in that it can't be in a already developed development, and there's, 15 acres sitting there that was supposed to be open space to
Right.
us.
That's kind of what I was getting at.
Right.
One of my, no, I'll start by saying this, just my thoughts, and I'll let everybody speak. In general, I agree with the win-win, right? I mean, the green energy is good, putting more energy without, a supposed negative consequence just into the pool of energy that we're all using is good. Ms. Wilder had referenced some of the existing homes, Grafton Street, Locust Street, and those sort of things, some older homes in there, smaller lots. The piece that I don't know, like if this was just open land and it wasn't abutting somebody's property, what are some of the considerations around, what does that look like? Does it affect their property value, or is there going to be, a glare coming in that's now shining, into their, I don't know those things, so I don't know if like the 50-foot setback and the buffer landscaping.
Yep.
I think that would all be things that, rather than just trying to
Sure.
to ram something through, maybe the planning and zoning group, should look at, spend a couple of sessions, looking at how these things have been implemented in similar situations, in other locations? What sort of measures did they take? Were there outcomes that weren't expected, those sort of things?
Well, we've developed projects in New Windsor. We're developing one in Union Bridge, another one in Eldersburg. So there are already references out there. I mean, those are good questions you bring up with glare, and a lot of people think of the glare with these solar panels. If you have glare off of them, that's for like in the desert in Nevada where you have mirrors, and that's where people get mixed up with the solar for electric photovoltaic versus mirrors that have a lot of glare.
Yeah.
These are all glare mitigated, and it's to absorb the sunlight, not to reflect it.
Okay.
The easiest way I always refer this is it's like a graveyard. Once you put it in, it's like a graveyard. Very little traffic in and out. There's not a lot that's
I have two.
sound, noise, none of it.
I have two quick questions. One is for Michelle. So, just so I understood this correctly, because this is kind of all new to me as well. So the developments that are already set, like Manchester Farms or Hallie Hills, they cannot have this, correct? Is
No,
that what
they're
you're
not even that zoning, they're only R20. And what land is available in there was dedicated to the
saying?
town.
I just wanted
It's
to make
ours.
sure. And then the other question I have for you, and maybe I missed it, and if I did, I apologize. When you say the buy-in, what does that entail? What are we talking about here?
So similar to like a third-party supplier, if you get a BGE bill, but you can get a cheaper rate from a third-party supplier that's supplying electricity. Well, with this, it's offsetting all, not just your supply, your distribution and everything. So they can buy into, as a subscriber, to 10 panels of electricity for as long as they want it, and pay that rate, which generally, and for the most part, is less than what the utility rate is.
Okay, so there's not a set buy-in amount, I guess is what I was asking.
No,
Okay.
and that's part of, the benefits of the community solar is, this is, one of it was put together because, people can't afford it. So this gives, people still have to have electricity for their lights, so it gives them the opportunity and a different avenue where they don't have to put $10, $20, $30, $40, $50,000 out of their pocket and still have that, you're buying solar, their electricity is solar that is being supplied to their home. And these are generally 25-year projects. So these systems are installed for 25 years. They have 25-year life. After the 25 years, they're either decommissioned, and usually a community solar project of a 2 megawatt, which is about a 10 to 12 acre, can be removed in less than a month and put the land back to its original use too. So this is basically a temporary structure. We're not putting in concrete. We're not putting in a slab. We're not putting in a big foundation.
So if there's damage to, say I bought 10 or whatever, and there's damage to it, who's responsible for that?
We are.
So there's no
No
cost to
cost,
the
no cost
town, no
to the
cost to anybody
subscriber.
else? Okay.
The town is no way held reliable. We gotta carry the insurance and all the liabilities associated with that, the taxes that come along with it. Not to say that the town can't buy into it, because businesses can also buy into the electricity as well.
I just meant for I just want to make sure for repairs or something happens
Yeah,
that we're not going to be
That's all,
responsible.
maintenance operation is done by the owner of the system.
The audience doesn't have the benefit of seeing the drawings we're seeing. Where are some of the potential locations? Where in town might this big area be?
Well, one of the locations that we're looking at is off of Locust Street, right, we talked about being a graveyard, is right near the graveyard, and the property is actually adjacent to the spray fields, which years ago, we looked at possibly doing something there.
Correct.
So that is, when you're looking for areas that are ideal, that being near the waste, the spray fields and graveyard area, that's almost an ideal place for it.
'Cause there'll be a sea of panels out there,
Well,
just like behind
so
Carroll
you-
Community College. When you drive by, it's a sea of those, and to some people that might be up on this.
So there are, again, the zoning still, I believe we have in here, a requirement. It still has to go through the zoning for, buffer, landscape buffer, just to make sure that, if it's, I think it looks beautiful, but, so there's some type of landscape, and so somebody isn't looking out their window into a field of solar that they may feel that is objectionable.
I agree, at a minimum, planning and zoning should have the opportunity to review this.
My thought on next steps, and you guys weigh in, would be to bring this to planning and zoning. So this is essentially a proposal for their ideas for where and how to change this. Is to send us to planning and zoning with some of the comments that we have on, what have we seen, what's worked well, what hasn't worked well, how do we best protect the town, the existing town residents. Well, at the same time, look, if this is a net benefit, it's worth spending some time on, and then having planning and zoning either say, hey, we think this is great, or instead of this, we would suggest this, and then push it up to this group and then reconvene. So that way we can dig down to the details a little bit and see how to proceed. Would be my thought.
So we'll send it to planning and zoning, send the information, and you guys will review it, and then, okay.
Okay,
Good.
Thank you very much.
very good.
Okay. Go with questions and comments from the community. I think some of these folks, I know Mr. Donathan, you signed in, so you just had, I was saying, I'm reading through the sign-in sheet. So we have we would just have a period where people, if they'd like to say something or bring up a concern, but you signed in, but I think, unless you had a different concern. Okay, you're fine. Mr. Michael Miller, is it the same thing?
Yes.
Okay. Melissa Rowe is Manchester Happenings. You guys good. And then we have Mr. Joseph James.
That was me.
Did you just sign in?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Is there anybody that did not sign in that would like to speak or bring something up before we move on? Okay. Moving on, we'll go to committee reports. And before we get into committee reports, I did talk to a couple of the council people today. I did not get to everybody, just the way the business day went. And I know some people are not, like Councilwoman Miller is not available for me just to call during the day. I want to start a discussion about committee assignments and what makes sense. There may be some things on here that in the past we spent some time on and we've kind of moved on from, at least in terms of a regular, every month or every quarter kind of thing. And then some other things that may make sense to pull into this and have somebody spend some time on. This may be one of, well, this is really a planning and zoning thing, but things that are taking up time or things that the feedback we're getting from the community. Let's get that into somebody's area so we can spend the appropriate amount of time on it. So more to come on that, but let's just talk about that over the next month. So we'll go to committee reports. Councilwoman Smith.
Okay, first off, congratulations, Steve. I've only had the benefit of working with you for about 6 years, but it's been wonderful. So
Thank you.
hopefully we'll have many more together.
Sure, appreciate it. Thank you very much.
And as far as the cable commission goes, the last meeting we had, I don't know if anybody here knows, but this month they're shutting down the Westminster branch for Comcast. At the meeting, there was several unhappy people because the next closest is either Owings Mills or Frederick. So if you're going to have issues with anything, you're either going to have to go to Owings Mills or go to Frederick, call them up, they'll have to mail it to you, things like that. We wrote a letter, the commissioners wrote a letter to Comcast. We were trying to change anything we can to get it closer for our community, but so far, after speaking to the rep, who's Josh Bokey, he came, and I must say he did take a little beating that night, but it didn't change anything so far. We are still working on it, but as of right now, it's still closing this month. They gave a date, but now they're saying that they don't know if that's the exact date. So if you have anything to take care of, I would recommend it probably this week is probably the last week. So we'll be working on that and trying to maybe, hopefully, find something better for the people, everyone around here.
Councilwoman Miller.
All right, so, Mayor Warner attended the last quarterly MML. Councilperson Howe is attending the fall conference for us, so we are on track for Banner City. So we just keep going. November's coming up, so we'll be able to highlight, Municipal Government Works Month, with our town open house. We'll have our flag, raised, we'll have pictures of that, so we're on the right track to keep moving forward. Did you want me to go ahead and give Trent's report?
I think,
Oh, sure, go ahead,
Oh,
go right
okay.
ahead.
all right,
Okay,
yeah.
all right, so our youth representative, Trent, is not available tonight. He wasn't able to come, but he did submit a report for us. Fine Arts, the senior-directed one acts are underway, with performances being the first Friday and Saturday in November. Many of the other ensembles, vocal, chorus, and wind, are practicing for their upcoming concerts, as well as auditions for countywide ensembles. In sports, the varsity football team has had a great start to their season, being 4-1. Their next game is against Century High School this Friday at Century, and the rest of the fall sports are underway with several winning games. In the community, on October 16th from 6 to 8, there's an open house at the Carroll County Career and Technology Center. There are several scholarships that are currently pending for seniors, such as the AFCEA and the High School Heisman. And the first quarter midterm just occurred last Friday, with only 158 more days of school.
You do a lot faster than he does, but he has more jokes inserted.
He does.
Yeah.
I don't have his sense of humor.
Have his facial expressions and all when he reads it.
All right, Councilman Pacelli.
The next Mama meeting is October 17th at Spargos at noon. And the big news is the 7th Annual Halloween Parade and Costume Contest will be held again this year at the Gary Business Center. The date is October 28th with a rain date of the 29th. The start time is 5:30 p.m. There will be many cakewalks as the local businesses will be supplying the donated cakes. Everyone, young and old, are invited to participate in the cakewalk as long as they are in a Halloween costume. Games will be played with apple cider donuts and plenty of candy available. Trophies will be awarded to the best costumes in 5 different categories. There are no fees or charges to anyone attending. October 28th at 5:30 p.m.
Very good. Councilwoman Howe is, again, not here today. I believe that the Parks meeting is next week anyway, so she'll be back next month and have a report. Councilman Wilder.
Okay, Planning and Zoning Commission did not meet last month, but as Steve mentioned, next week there'll be a joint session with the mayor and council and planning and zoning to discuss annexation of the Lippy property. So hopefully everybody can make that. Other than that, I'd also like to congratulate Steve. I think Ryan and I go back 20 years with Steve about, don't we?
Only halfway.
Yeah.
Been here forever.
Yeah, been a good run. Yeah, good run. So,
All right, yeah, very, very good. Just a couple of reminders. Councilman Wilder just mentioned there's a meeting here next Tuesday, 7:30. It's a work session to discuss some of the considerations around the Lippy property, which is 25 acres kind of across the street from the high school. Next town council meeting here Tuesday, November 12th at 7:30. I know everybody congratulated Steve, but congratulations, Steve. Invite everybody to the back after the meeting. We do have a gift on behalf of the town for Mr. Miller, as well as a service award. So we'll give those to him back there. Anything else for this board?
I think that's it.
A message. You have a message?
Oh, I'm getting ready to close it out. I'm ignoring Commissioner Wance. So yeah, we have a video message here from Commissioner Wance. Apologies if he's watching live.
So good evening, Manchester. This is Carroll County Commissioner Steve Wance, and my apologies, first of all, for the fact that we could not attend this evening's activities. We have several of my colleagues that are attending other events, and I happen to be out of town with the Chamber of Commerce. But this event this evening couldn't go without a comment from those of us here in Carroll County. And I want to just say congratulations to a gentleman that I have known for many, many years. The face, the pulse, everything that goes on in Manchester revolves around Steve Miller. And for someone to say that they have been in an employment for 40 years, I think is astounding. And it's just amazing, and it shows the determination and certainly the importance that Steve has placed upon the community over there in Manchester. So we're going to be honoring Steve later on, but I wanted to just briefly say on behalf of all of us in Carroll County and on behalf of my colleagues, we say congratulations to Steve Miller on everything that he has accomplished throughout the 40 years that he has been with Manchester. And just say, look, enjoy yourself. You continue to do a tremendous job over there, and we say just a huge congratulations. So, Steve, here's to you. Cheers on 40 years, and here's to 40 more.
Very nice. Anything else for this group? Entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Good night.